This is the exact system that Iman Gadzhi used to make $100 million from his info products. And I know this because he literally tells us this in these videos right here. But the thing about Iman is that he tells you the what, sells you the how, but gatekeeps the why. And the reason he does this is because he's extremely intelligent and understands that leverage does not come from knowing what to do and how to do it. Leverage comes from understanding why a specific action is the most optimal compared to all other alternatives. If you've been in the space for any amount of time, you've already heard of the flywheel content system and how it works. But I know for a fact that you've never been taught why it works and the specific psychology behind each and every step. And I'm going to fix that for you. So sit down and grab your notebook because we're about to get extremely autistic. And it all starts with a brief understanding of what the flywheel content system is to begin with. Iman in this video explains that it's a content system that allows you to pretty much get negative ROAS for your advertisement. And it all starts with a micro channel targeting one avatar. After you start that channel, create content that solves a specific problem for that one avatar. After 15 to 30 videos, create a VSL and post it on YouTube. Then you link all the future videos to that VSL, and then you systematically rehash those videos by changing the title and thumbnail. Now, the advantage of the flywheel content system is that YouTube prioritizes session watch time over everything else. The system boosts session watch time because all the videos are linked to one single video. YouTube will boost your channel for promoting your product because that VSL is now getting a whole bunch of data points of the type of people that would be interested in it. So not only would YouTube start to push the other pieces of content that you have linked to your VSL, but it's also going to push the VSL itself. This is how you achieve negative ROAS. So this is the basic understanding that he teaches you in here and that most people talk about. What I don't see anybody talking about is the audience awareness levels that goes behind why this works, the market sophistications that explains why Iman consistently uses the same strategy, but he changes how it's implemented, and how these two come together to form this right here. Now, starting with the audience awareness levels, right? Audience awareness level is just pretty much stating where your audience is compared to your product. At the top, we have the unaware market. Now, what you'll realize as we go down, the audience starts to ask itself different questions about whatever you are presenting, right? So at the unaware market, product audience know how to identify problem in regards to your solution. The goal when advertising to this audience is leveraging curiosity that gets them asking questions that eventually makes them realize that they have a problem. Because that's the thing right here with unaware. They don't even know that they have a problem to begin with. This is an example of this being used in traditional marketing. This is why I stopped eating eggs. Because the most immediate question that your audience is going to ask yourself, or that you're asking yourself right here, is like, why did this person stop eating eggs? And then that leads to this advertising talking about gut health and blah, 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 blah. And then it makes you realize that you might have gut health problems. The way that this is being used in info marketing is through this lifestyle content. You'll see right here, posts like this make your audience ask themselves, how is this kid, right, able to afford this lifestyle, which leads them to realizing that they need to lock in because they are poor in comparison, which leads them to starting to ask themselves how they can make more money, which becomes their core problem. They don't know how to make enough money to afford this lifestyle. So like I said, as we go down through this, you'll realize the only thing that's changing, right, is their awareness to a product, right, and the type of questions that your customer or potential customer is asking themselves. When we go to problem aware, audience is now aware of the problem but don't have a solution. The goal when advertising is to agitate the problem, so you want to poke at it a little bit and point them to a solution. This example in traditional advertising, my mom was getting indigestion after eating blah, 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 right? So that's poking the problem of gut health, right? This shows up in info product marketing with videos like this, exposing the business model that makes me $100K per month at 19, right? Closing $80,000 worth of estimated clients in 72 hours, right? Posts like this answer the question of how can I make enough money to afford this lifestyle by exposing the business model that's allowing the creator to have said lifestyle. But this brings up the follow-up question: how can I capitalize on this lifestyle at the same level this creator does, which gives you the opportunity to move them down to solution aware. At this point in time, in the pyramid, the audience is aware of their problem and your solution, but they start to actively look at all the solutions to that same problem. To stay in the theme of the online biz op, someone at this stage will now know they're poor, know that insert creator push business. Let's use SMMA, right? For now, is how Iman Gadzhi made their money. But we'll start to look at all their different business models, and that would allow them to solve the problem of being poor. So somebody that's at this stage is the person that's looking at SMMA. They're looking at e-com. They're looking at drop shipping. They're looking at trading. They're looking at crypto. So whenever somebody is looking at multiple options to solve the same problem, this is where they're at in the stage. And stick with me here because I'm going to tie this back up to the flywheel content system before I move forward. But just let me get through everything, okay? The goal tied into this to this level is to show them why your solution is the irrefutable best choice in the market. This brings us to traditional marketing, right? Meat Athletics drinks are all in one drink that's paced with vitamins, probiotics, antioxidants, blah, 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 blah. So this is giving them a very specific reason why their product or their solution is the best. Because in this example, you might have gut health, right? But there's multiple solutions to gut health. So you can change a different diet, exercise different way, drink more water, blah, blah, blah. They're positioning their solution as the best. This shows up in info product marketing, stuff like this. 10-step guide to starting an SMA in 2021. How to get freelance brand scaling clients with no experience. So whenever you see beginner level tutorials, this is them targeting that specific segment of their market. Now, beginner level tutorials are what targets this level of awareness. The goal of these tutorials is to frame the creator solution as the easiest to get into, simplest to actually run, and that the highest probability to succeed. Second and tertiary goals are to reduce risk and build trust. This is also where you start to see stronger call to actions to their actual info products. Now, once they are solution aware, they move on to product aware. At this point, the audience believes that your solution is the best solution to their problem, but they start to look at all the different brands / products that offer that solution. So let's say we're able to successfully convince them that SMMA is the business model for them. This is the person that's going to look at your SMMA course, Iman's SMMA course, this person's SMA course, this other person's SMMA course. Now they're shopping around for different solutions. The goal is to show your audience why your specific brand / product is the irrefutable best. You'll see that the way that this company did it in traditional marketing is the same advertorial, but they added a trust element. And this was with the inclusion, I forgot what it's called. Testimonial. There we go. With the inclusion of a testimonial. And that's what's going to get this audience to move down the ladder. The implementation of trust assets to scale trust. Trust assets can be case studies, results, testimonials, etc. You can see these right here. Testimonial and then proof that Brez, right, knows what he's talking about. Once this is solved, this is most aware, right? At this point, the buyer is sold. I don't know why that says old. Sold on your product and is looking for the opportunity to give you money. Give them an offer they can't refuse. This is where the offer comes in, right? And you can see that this is this company's offer, and these are these whose offer. So great offer, great backend system, and a great sales system, right? These are the audience awareness levels. Now, how this ties back in is that the way that Iman explains it in this video is that he only talks about solving for this portion of the market, right? In this video, right, and how he's going to explain it on all his social medias, because like I said, Iman tells you the what, Iman tells you the what, and then he sells you the how, but he doesn't really teach you the why, right? So everything that he talks about is to solve this portion, because when you're having when you're choosing to go down to start a micro channel targeting one avatar, you're basically just cutting out this whole entire top section, because you're starting to give them assets that are going to let's see, you're going to start to give them assets of that target solution aware people and down, which is good when you're small, but at scale does not work, because you're going to eat up the market share depending on your audience size over here. So you need to learn about how to capture your unaware market and your problem aware market so you can continue to funnel them down. You'll see that Iman is actively doing this right now, right? Like I said earlier, lifestyle content and beginner and explaining business models, those are what does this for them. And that's why you also see a lot of these creators coming out with lifestyle content, because that's what captures the most attention. Now, the next level of understanding this is also understanding market sophistication, right? So when a new market is birthed, right, there is a gradual increase of risk as more competitors enter that marketplace and just spew out their different offers. So depending on the level of skepticism, right, that's in the market, right, is what stage that they're in sophistication. And depending on what stage that they're in sophistication, you have to change your messaging to accommodate for that. Let's walk through each of these stages one by one. So stage one, market is new and you have little to no competition. This is going to bother me because it's not even. This means that you have that first to market advantage, and all that's needed here is for you to make people aware of your existence. Message basically has to be, I exist / this is what I do, right? And I'm going to give you specific examples of what your messaging needs to look like at each stage. When we go to stage two, a small amount of competition has entered the marketplace. Messaging needs to switch from I exist / this is what I do to I exist this is what I do, and these features make me different from my competition. Focus shifts from your existence. Focus shifts from the existence of your product / service to the specific features of your product / service that make you different from your competition. Now, when you move on to stage three, market is even more saturated and messages needs to change once again. Messaging needs to go from I exist, this is what I do, and these are, I'm only going to use one of these for messaging needs to go from I exist and these features make me different from my competition to I exist, these features make me different from my competition, and these specific processes are what allows me to get you better results. You switch from focusing on features to focusing on how you'll get them XYZ results. Stage four, this is really going to bother me too. Wow. All right, all of these like this? I'm sorry. Give me a little bit just to fix this problem. It's the attention to detail. And that little wiggly is going to piss me off in the long run. So at this point, this is stage four, right? Market is hyper saturated. Skepticism runs high because they've heard every offer from every competitor. So you need to introduce a risk reversal. Messaging needs to switch from I exist, these features make me different from my competition, and these specific processes are what allow me to get you better results, to I exist, these features make me different from my competition. I have these specific processes that allow me to get you better results. And if you don't get those results, I'll give you XYZ risk reversal. That's very important for stage four of market sophistication, because this is when risk starts to really, really get up there. But there's still one level above this, which is stage five. At this point, the market is at max skepticism, and there are only two ways to survive. Number one, brand. Your brand will protect you and get you customers once we're in stage five of market saturation. This includes brand identity, authority, positioning, etc. Right? Best way I learned this is the difference between Mac and what's it called? Regular, just PCs, right? So when you think of Mac, you think of artists, you think of musicians, you think of creative, blah, blah, blah. So those people are going to naturally gravitate to that product. When you think of PC, you think of engineers, coders, people that are good at math, blah, 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 right? And those people are naturally going to gravitate to that. They're the same product. Realistically, they're literally the same product. Yeah, features change, but on first principles, they're the exact same product. But their branding is what separates them. So that's why specific audiences are drawn to specific products. Now, the second thing that's going to help you survive when we're on stage 5 of market saturation or sophistication is to completely reinvent the products and service, which will then birth a new market, starting the cycle all over again. Now, you once again, as you'll realize, once the more you go down, you'll realize that your market goes down to sophistication levels. Skepticism increases due to different claims being made by companies within the market. That's why at each stage you need to introduce a new mechanism that allows you to fight their growing skepticism. That's the big important thing to understand here. Now, what I'm about to go over is really like the deep like understanding of how these two come together, right, in your audience's head. And once you understand how these two actions or psychological processes work together, you'll understand why Iman is able to make $100 million. Because remember, once again, when he's explaining these things to you guys in his videos, he's keeping it very, very basic. What you'll ultimately start to understand is that each stage of audience awareness has their own level of market sophistication. That's really like the highest level thing that you can understand and take away from this video. And I'm going to say it again. Each level of audience awareness has its own level of market sophistication. And it's important to understand that, because once you understand that, you will understand that you cannot do the same thing for an extended period of time at each level, especially if everybody is already doing this. Let's use info coaching to be very specific. Let's stay on that topic, right? Tai Lopez in 2016, 2017 came out with, what's it called? The In My Garage with My Lambo, right? That's all he had to do to get 400,000 students in his MMA course. And most of you guys probably don't know that Tai Lopez actually owns the copyright for SMMA. Every SMMA person that you see is be sued by Tai. Like, he was the originator of that, right? So he came out. That's all he had to do. That was at stage 1 of what's it called? Market sophistication. And you saw how viral that is, but then everybody started to do that. And then that stopped garnering as much attention. So then Iman comes out and he starts doing the things that he's doing, right? With that SMA, and then coming out with his courses and then documenting his lifestyle. And that's where, what's it called? That's how he gained his traction. Now what we see is Brez doing it, but he's not doing it at the same level, right? Because you want to know the differentiator from Iman and Tai is that Iman just had a lot more hours in lifestyle content, right? So Tai just said in my car or in my garage with my Lambo, right? Iman came out and it was in my Lambo, in my Ferrari, in my penthouse, in my this and that, right? That's what it took to solve that unaware problem. Now Brez comes out and he's doing the same thing, but now he has the added mechanism of his age. Because when you read that, if it was just I bought a GT3 RS, right? I'll be like, cool, whatever. We see everybody buying fancy cars on the internet now. It's not as impressive. It doesn't capture your attention as much. But when you read it as I bought a $400,000 GT3 RS at 20, that's the new mechanism here. It's age. That's the new mechanism here. right? Now you see breasts start to blow up exponentially. And that's really what I'm trying to convey here. And this is my best attempt to put this like into words, is that each one of these awareness levels is a problem that we have to solve for your audience. But as more people enter the market, as more competitors, they're going to try to solve the problem the same way, which will saturate that way of solving that problem for your audience. So you constantly have to introduce different mechanisms that are going to solve that. And you can't just do that at the top of your funnel. You can't just do that at bottom of funnel. The people that are making hundreds of millions of dollars are doing it at every single stage of the funnel. They have a trigger on they have a finger on the trigger of where their buyers are. And the thing about this is that you might be on the unaware section of what's it called? Your audience might be at stage 4. Your problem aware section of your audience might be at stage 1. Or maybe both of these are at stage 5, but the product aware is at stage 1. There's so much variance. There's so much nuance. There's so many different things that you can do. This is where the top level guys are spending their time thinking about. They're thinking about new ways they can capture the unaware option of their market. They're thinking about new ways they can capture problem aware. They're thinking about new ways and new mechanisms to capture solution aware, product aware, most aware, ready to buy. Like, this is where the money is made. This is the difference between somebody that's making a measly 10, 15, 30 grand a month to somebody that's making $1 million a month. This is why the top guys get everything, because there are very few people that take things to this level of just artistic obsession and understanding of your market. And I really just wanted to put it out there because I've yet to see somebody combine these 3 facts or these 2 psychological processes and then tie it back to flywheel content system, because the flywheel content system is how they're solving these problems. And I'll tell you an exact example. Iman, so this right here is hosted on Iman Gadzhi Business, right? That's a new page. So if you go back a year or 2 ago, the way that Iman was solving these problems is that he would host all of these, right? All the videos that solve these specific problems. He would host it on one channel. Then everybody started posting it on one channel. So what did he do? He switched it up and he started hosting it on different channels, right? So we'd have one channel specifically for top of funnel. He has one channel specifically for he basically has a channel for each stage of the marketing funnel. He has each stage of audience awareness. That's where he's at right now. But he's able to make these switches, right? He's able to make these decisions because it goes back to what I said. It's not enough to know the what and the how. It's most important to understand the why, because the why is what gives you the ability to adapt to your market. That's what gives you power and leverage. So I wanted to put this out here and give you that power and leverage so you can take this and adapt it to your system or sales process or whatever you have going on. Now, this is the end of the video. I don't have a course to sell you. I don't have a mentorship to sell you at all. I'm a growth operator and I'm looking to expand my partnerships. You probably are going to not want to implement this by yourself because it takes a certain level of personal obsession to really nail this down and understand it. And honestly, you have better things to worry about in your business. So let me worry about this for you, right? My partnership applications are in the description of this video and at the links of my channel. So you can go ahead and go over there and fill it out. Now, with that being said, like I said, it's the end of the video. So like, comment, subscribe. Bye.